Huge question, will Aaron Rodgers show up? Yesterday, we got opinions from two legendary quarterbacks. Give a listen.
I think he's dug in right now, and there's so many things that have been said. From a management standpoint, from a fan standpoint, I think it's going to be hard for him to go back. But I'm beginning to believe more and more that Aaron Rodgers will not be a Green Bay Packer.
The fact that Aaron Rodgers might not play this year is, I can't fathom it. He's too good of a player, too fun to watch for the fans. I personally hope it's in Green Bay. My gut is he's not coming to Denver. My gut is Denver's going to have Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater be their quarterback. And at this point, you kind of know what your plan is. We can't be having a new quarterback 3 weeks before the season.
So difference of opinions between Joe Theismann and Peyton Manning. Let's get opinions from our crew here. And let's start with the insight from Jeff Tarlington. We are 2 weeks today, and he used the phrase, Aaron did, we'll know in a couple of weeks the other day. How significant do you think that was?
Significant enough because it's really the first bit of timeline that Aaron Rodgers has projected in any capacity at the golf tournament in Tahoe. He basically said, I'm going to enjoy this week, then I'm going to start working out, and then we'll figure things out in a few weeks, which, by the way, sounds like everybody on like December 27th, right before New Year's. Like, we're gonna enjoy this week, then we're going to work out. I do think that there's an important point here that we need to make. And I understand that Aaron Rodgers makes a ton of money. But every day this year, it's different than other years past. If you miss a day of training camp, you are fined $50,000. In the past, after a holdout kind of got figured out, a team would forgive those fines. The new CBA, to try to keep holdouts from happening, now keeps teams from forgiving those fines. They're unforgivable. So every day of training camp that Aaron Rodgers misses is $50,000. 10 practices, that's $500,000. I understand money is different for these athletes, but I do think that's an important distinction that we should make at this point in time.
It's interesting that you use the word unforgivable. That can be taken literally or figuratively, depending on which side of this thing you're on. Louis Riddick, let me come to you. We're 2 weeks away from knowing. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that point that Jeff just made is one that really needs to be driven home and people really need to think about right here. And Aaron needs to really think about it. And that's why I've said all along, Greeny, that the Green Bay Packers, the best thing that they could do was just go ahead and make their feelings known as far as wanting him back, and then just sit and be quiet and let him think about what the financial ramifications are of you going ahead and playing this all the way out and seeing it all the way until the end. It's going to cost you a lot of money. You knew that these different markers along the way were coming up. The start of training camp, the start of the season, the trade deadline, and it gets more and more expensive. And that's why, look, right now, although you would like to maybe see Aaron go ahead and be happy and go somewhere else and take that team to a Super Bowl because it would give us a ton of content and a lot of different things to talk about in the context of the NFL, which the NFL always does, I just don't know if that is going to happen because, one, Aaron's going to look at this thing and go financially, look, yeah, I've made a lot of money. Maybe I've made, $200 million plus. But $50,000 a day that people can't forgive, yeah, you're right, that is unforgivable. I don't care how much money I've made. And quite honestly, once it gets to the regular season, it gets even more expensive. So look, man, I mean, maybe he has nowhere really to go. And as much as he wants to control his own destiny, he can't. And that's sometimes the way it goes in the NFL. This isn't the NBA. It's different. And maybe for Aaron Rodgers, we're going to wind up seeing that it's either Green Bay or nowhere.
Well, no one understands that better, Sacho, than you do based on your history with the CBA and the union and everything. But we were having a chat this morning, and you made a really interesting observation about something Tom Brady said that might actually be the key to all of this. Sam.
Well, absolutely. Well, Aaron Rodgers isn't going anywhere. And I think I know that because I've talked to some of his friends. And better yet, don't listen to it from me. Go listen to it straight from the source. Listen to what Tom Brady had to say about the Aaron Rodgers situation. Take a listen.
An NBA owner, a self-taught guitarist, and has guest starred in both The Office and Game of Thrones.
He's unhappy with his boss and has no options. Who is Aaron Rodgers?
Ding, ding, that is correct. Well done.
It's a projection, Tom. I never said I'm unhappy with my boss.
I said it, not you.
See, that's a great friend. That's a great friend. You got a friend who can speak up on your behalf. Aaron Rodgers hasn't said much, but his friend Tom Brady has said everything we need to hear. He's unhappy with his boss, and he has zero options. Aaron Rodgers will be back in Green Bay this year. He's not going anywhere.
So good.
Do you think he shows up the day the camp starts, Sam?
I don't. I think so even playing against Aaron Rodgers just has this brash and this bravado about him. He wants to prove a point. That's who he's always been. That's how he's always acted. And so I think he's going to hold out at least a week and a half. Yes, it's a little bit of a fine. And yes, I understand it's unforgivable. But man, give him a new contract. He'll get a little bit more money and get it back soon. So I think he's going to sit out a little bit, but he will be back in Green Bay by the time the season starts.
And you mentioned his attitude and all the rest of that. You had a great story about a game. Again, you played for the Bears all those years, so no one knows playing against Aaron Rodgers better than you do. A great illustration of just what sometimes it's like when you're going head-to-head against him.
Oh, he's unbelievable. I remember in 2018, my last year with the Chicago Bears, it was week 1, first game of the season, Bears-Packers. We had just traded for Khalil Mack. Aaron Rodgers was injured, out of the game. We were excited. We were up 20-3 in the fourth quarter. Then Aaron Rodgers came back, threw 3 touchdown passes in the fourth quarter, won the game for his team 24-23. And then as he won the game, he looks to our sideline and gives us the discount double check. I literally thought it was a commercial. I mean, I was like, this can't be real. Are they filming? Like, is it State Farm? What is going on? And so he gave us the discount double check. We showed that in the film room the very next week, and we held on to that. And gratefully, we went back to beat Green Bay at the end of the season. But I will never forget that moment about who Aaron Rodgers is. He's a guy who wants to prove it to everyone.
How about that, Lewis? How about a guy who'll look over to your sideline and give you the discount double check after he beats you coming off the bench with an injury?
You know, man, I love players who have edge, Greeny. I love people who are trying to prove points. I mean, that's as good as it gets right there. And that's why, look, I agree. I think he is, even though he has no options, I mean, I would agree. I think just to prove a point, look, he's going to say, look, you may have me. I may not be able to go anywhere, but I'm not showing up on time. I'm not going to be here on your schedule. I can't control my exit out of here the way I want, but I can control some things, and I can make you sweat a little bit, and I'm going to make this season, although I'm going to play it for my teammates, I'm not going to make it comfortable for all those people who Tom Brady said he's unhappy with and who Aaron said he's not unhappy with, but he's unhappy with.
Okay, so that's 2 weeks to the day that we will figure this out. In the meantime, did everyone see this over the weekend? I just want everyone to see what an extraordinarily skilled person our Jeff Darlington is. I guess he had a bunch of time on his hands because Jeff went on Instagram and just started showing, Jeff, you can just spin anything, can't you?
Yeah. I can spin anything basically with centrifugal motion. I don't think people realized it. I mean, literally, you could take like a book, like it's, it's not hard. Now, the one thing I'd say is that people suggested I spin dogs or babies. Like, they don't have centrifugal motion. Like, I can't spin them. But I can spin anything with centrifugal motion. I can go all day.
Are you suggesting that someone asked you to spin their dog or their baby? Is that what I'm gleaning from this?
Well, people were asking me that. I thought that was a little bit, not inappropriate, but not inappropriate because of the risk factor. Inappropriate because they don't have centrifugal motion. So you can't, they don't have centrifugal force.
You and I have grown to be close, but that's a level of trust that we do not have. Would you spin my baby, Jeff Darlington?
Laptop? Company laptop? Jimmy Pitaro won't like this.
One more time.
See that?
Go ahead. Company laptop. Go. There we go. Look at that. I can't be the only one who's fascinated by this.
Apple Care.
I could watch that spin thing
if you got
a very long time.
I could spin those too.
Jeff, I listened to you talk about this on ESPN Radio Sunday for about 15 minutes at the start of the segment that you did, and I'm going, what are we doing? Like, what's going on in this world right now? Jeff has a 15-minute segment talking about I can't spin your baby or a dog. I mean, what is that?
It's not my problem that people are fascinated with my skill set. Like, I don't know what it's
exactly right. Don't hate the player, hate the game. All right, we have much more to do. We're just getting started here today. We're going to have some fun coming up. He's won 7.